Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Wednesday, October the 9th, and we are just about 29 minutes before the start of trading today and before the open. We've got a lot of interesting things going on today. The strike at Boeing, the airplane manufacturer, continues. So we're seeing that obviously weigh on Boeing stocks. Oil dropped significantly yesterday, despite really no changes in the tensions over in the Middle East. However, one key thing has changed in the Middle East, and that is the wording being used. They're now using the word war or a war risk increases, and that is going to create some volatility in the crude oil market and with oil stocks. We're also seeing that the Chinese stocks, which spiked 2 weeks ago on the Chinese stimulus, have started to stumble and retreat based on some skepticism over that stimulus and the stimulus package. We also have the Department of Justice weighing in to suggest that Google be broken up, which would be historic and something that they had proposed years ago to other companies like Microsoft and Apple, but have never done. So this is probably just a lot of speculation at this point. And sure, the Department of Justice may want something. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. So that's where we are right now with kind of that top headlines. And then obviously, if you're a resident of the Southeast in the United States, you're preparing for Hurricane Milton. And if you've been hit by Hurricane Helene or are about to get hit by Hurricane Milton, I really hope that you and your families are safe and okay, because these storms can be devastating. My dog is freaking out about the storm right now. He is not a hurricane supporter. We also tomorrow have Tesla coming out with its robo-taxi announcement, and it has some ground to make up here on that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I would be hedging my bets if I were a Tesla owner, which I am not right now, and I would probably be selling a portion of my Tesla holdings, especially if they are in the green and up, and take some of those gains, because this stock could go either way, and it's had a very big run up into the robo-taxi event, which was already delayed once from, I believe, originally in August or back in the summer timeframe to October. So we never know what's going to happen with Elon and Tesla, and now that Elon's jumped on that Trump bandwagon, you never know how crazy the man has gotten. If we turn our attention to the markets, we can see that in the futures, everything in the US space is in the red, but only slightly. I think these are going to come back. Tech had a pretty strong day yesterday overall. So we'll see what's made up here. We also saw a bit of a run up in the financials. So let's turn our attention over to the Yahoo Finance app and go through the top and see what's going on here. So crude oil, it was off significantly earlier. Now it's only off 40 cents. It was up, though, yesterday significantly and dropped. So if we look at the 5-day, it was up at 77.50. And it's now come down to 73. So that's a pretty big swing of $4. And there's a pretty significant drop here yesterday from the 75 range right down to as low as 73.49. So $1.50 yesterday. That's a big swing as we look at what's going on. That said, we also had a similar swing earlier in the week when it went down or started down on Monday at almost 74 and closed up in the 76 range. So this thing is bouncing around like crazy and trying to figure out where the happy medium is with what's going on in the Middle East, and then with the potential impact of an OPEC announcement or something like that around oil production increases or decreases. We look at health and retail. Costco had a great day yesterday. It was up almost $17, recovered to basically where it was, within a dollar or two, where it was before earnings last week. So it's recovering there. It's down slightly right now. I think it's going to continue to push forward. Lulu's making a bit of a recovery. It was up $4 yesterday. The big one making a recovery here is Home Depot. If you look at Home Depot over the last 6 months, you're going to see that since August, when it kind of bottomed out, maybe July when it bottomed out, but in that June, July, the summer time frame when it was in the low 300s, it's now come back and at 415. So I'm not sure if this is the 50 basis point decrease in interest rates that came out last month from the US Federal Reserve, or whether it is improved consumer confidence, whether it's the jobs report, whether it's a decrease in costs and inflation, but Home Depot is starting to make a comeback. So this is one to definitely watch as it heads into earnings. I'm not ready to buy this stock yet. I want to see what the earnings say because I think this just could be anticipation of good news and it may not be as rosy as they think. I'm in Home Depot quite a bit because I love doing home renovations and different projects, DIY projects. And I don't see the store as packed as it has been, certainly in the post-COVID timeframe. So I'm a little skeptical, but I'm only visiting typically one or two stores. If we scroll down through the list, we can see that healthcare is it's just kind of hanging out. It's not really doing much. There is some speculation and a report out that Nike and some of the consumer discretionary stocks that are tied to China and do fairly significant sales in China, Nike being one of them, could have some positive upside surprise going into the end of this year, especially with that or based on the Chinese stimulus. So we'll have to keep an eye on Nike. I love Nike at under $81. I think it's an absolute steal. And in the long term, knowing that I believe it's in 2 days or this week that the new CEO takes that role, and that's that executive that's been there for a number of years, left and has been hired back as the CEO. As he starts his new role, I think he will start to make changes immediately. I mean, the beautiful thing about this is he doesn't need a lot of time to get up to speed on the business because he's been there for so long. So he probably has some great ideas going in. He probably knows a great deal of the people on the executive team and in the other departments. And he can likely make some aggressive changes quickly without having to build and foster trust as a new individual because he's already known. So I think Nike could see some very positive results in the new year in 2025 when they've had 90 plus days to kind of start to shape the direction of the future for that Nike brand. We can see it pick up yesterday in the transport sector. Again, not one that I'm involved in or own any of right now. I still think there's a potential for a pullback in these, and I'm waiting on that and hedging my bets. I do hold some oil stocks, and oil had a very tough day yesterday. Valero, which is one of my favorites and one of my holdings, took a big hit. So did Chevron. I do expect that these will turn. I'm just surprised that they've dropped so much yesterday and that crude is moving so much. Crude futures is moving so much. So this has been a learning experience for me and one that I hope to turn into a profitable learning experience as we get through to the end of the year. So a lot of these pay a decent dividend and I think have a fair bit of upside. And the time to buy these is when they are selling off. So yesterday or this morning is probably a good time to look at putting some money into one of these stocks if you're not invested in them already. It does look like there's a potential for a turnaround today, but that is still yet to be seen. We also see in tech that we've got a lot of green on the screen here. So NVIDIA and some of the semiconductors, not all of them, but some of them had a great day yesterday. NVDL, that hedged NVIDIA stock, was up $5.16. It's up again $1.50 pre-market. CrowdStrike's been making a comeback as well as Palo Alto. Palo Alto had a great day yesterday, up $17, a little more than $17. And then you have the likes of CRM, which is up $7 yesterday, now into the 290. So this was one that we were calling would likely get into the 330 range by end of this year, and it's making its way back to that. Net was up as well, Cloudflare. So that's a good sign across the cybersecurity stocks, those being Cloudflare, Palo Alto, and CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, the one with the huge outage earlier this year that took down many businesses, including airlines. Microsoft, down in the low 400s, is an interesting one. It had a good day yesterday, recovering $5. It's up $1 pre-market. Again, this stock kind of hit a a glass ceiling at 430. So I think there is some room for that to gain back. And they're going to release results in a couple of weeks. So we've got 13 days to Microsoft earnings. And I don't expect any huge negative surprises there. So buying in at this point to Microsoft may be a very solid investment going into earnings. We've also got On Semiconductor. So On Semiconductor primarily makes chips for the automotive sector, and they've been hit fairly hard over the last year. Their price to earnings ratio is pretty decent right here at 16%. But there could be still some concerns on the recovery of the EV market and cars in general. With the drop in interest rates, it may have helped them, but this will be an interesting one to watch as it heads into earnings. If we scroll down further, one of the ones that got hit hard yesterday was Alibaba. It was off almost $8. It was off $8 at some point, but it was just under $8 at the close. It's off about $3.50 right now, so it looks like it's heading downwards. I think this is just a momentary blip. I mean, obviously, the stimulus news caused all Chinese stocks to jump. You want to sell the news, so hopefully you got out and took some profits there. But I do think that you're going to see a pullback. But then if that stimulus actually translates into spending, as it did in every other country, at least G7 country, I think we're going to see the same thing happen. And we may be 3 to 6 months out to see the results in company earnings. But I think they're going to be very positive for the likes of Alibaba and some of the other Chinese companies. And then we had Meta. Meta has been up to 600. It's now at 592. It was up $8 yesterday on a bit of a pullback the day before. Super strong stock and likely getting to be north of 600 before the end of this year. Tesla, a lot depends on this robotaxi announcement tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see what's going on there. It's got a little bit of a pullback in the pre-market. Nvidia up again in the pre-market, up $5 yesterday. So it crossed the 130 threshold, which we talked about in yesterday's video. And now that it's crossed 132, I think it's ready to set some new highs. So I can see this going up to 145, maybe even 150 in the next month or so. And then we have Google, based on that Department of Justice announcement about the potential for, or their recommendation for a breakup. It was hit a little hard throughout the day yesterday, but then finished up $1.30. It's off slightly. I think this is a huge buying opportunity for Google. There's nothing to say that the Department of Justice can force Google to split up. Google will fight it tooth and nail. They'll keep this thing held up in court for years, just like Microsoft did, and they'll figure out a solution and negotiate to a happy medium. So I don't think a breakup is in the works for Google, but if that is the feeling in the market or the narrative in the market, then it's usually a good time to buy when the price is down. TSM has been doing well. This was a stock that, well, if we just look at the 1 month chart, in the last month, it was down as low as 156. It's now up to 186. We called this one, said it would recover to the 185 mark before the end of the year or even within October, and it's now surpassed that, looking like it's going to climb again today. And then the other thing to track for Friday are the first of the financials making their announcement. So SoFi had a good day yesterday. Looks like it's off to a green start today. We have JP Morgan Chase at 211 right now. I think this is a pretty decent price going into earnings. This is where they came out of, they ended up after earnings in the last quarter in Q2. So with Q3 earnings likely going to be strong, I think we're going to see JP Morgan get into the 225, 230 range by either by trading Friday or by Monday, Tuesday, or latest Wednesday of next week. And as we get to Wednesday of next week, we'll have had Morgan Stanley and Goldman announce, and I've been buying Goldman on dips and selling it on pops. So I was in and out a couple of times with Goldman yesterday and had some profitable trades. Morgan Stanley at 107, I'm thinking is on the higher side. I think this will get up to 112, 114 at earnings. But I'm liking Goldman, thinking that Goldman could get up into the 520, 530 range with a positive earnings surprise. So that's where we are today on October the 9th. I hope wish you good luck with your trades. Hope you're doing well and hope you're liking the channel. And if you are, please give me a like and a subscribe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.